I interrupt our regular programming to bring Zamina mina, waka waka, Zamina mina zangalewa. It's time from Africa. Hi guys, my name is Michelle and welcome back to my channel. I want to take this awesome opportunity to wish all Africans all over the world a happy Africa Day. If you're a return viewer, karibu sana. Thank you for being in this space and your presence is highly appreciated. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell on so that you can be notified when I upload new videos. And if you enjoy this video, do give it a thumbs up as it's a way to support this channel. So the books I'm going to talk about today are available from Nuria the bookstore, and you can use my discount code Empress Express, which will give you 7% off your purchase. You can use the code countless number of times. And yes, I hear you question, they do ship outside of Kenya, so that's an extra plus, supporting this channel, supporting the store, supporting African literature. It's a win-win situation. So without much further ado, let's start this video. The first book I'm going to talk about is Behold the Dreamers by Mbolombwe. Who hasn't heard about this book? Where have you been? Where have you been? Like seriously. So this book follows the joggers, a Cameroonian couple who have immigrated to the United States of America in search of a better life, not only for the couple but for their 6-year-old son. In the fall of 2007, Jende, the man of the family, lands a job as a chauffeur for one of the senior executives at Lehman's Brother. This is the who on the Wall Street. And things seems to be going up for them. And also that Neni got a job thanks to the wife of Jende's boss. However, this world is full of secrets, and one by one they start unraveling for Jende and Neni, and they realize that things are not as they seem. But life being what it is, there's a rock in the financial world, and the Lehman Brothers collapses. Jende is there struggling to keep his job, but things do not go as they planned. So Mbue explores this idea we have of the American dream. She explores the theme of migration, love, loss, substance abuse, and through this character's point of view we get to see what it means to live in America as an immigrant. It gives us a deeper glimpse between life in Cameroon and the America. All the characters really interesting and yet funny. At some point, I was so mad at Jende, and also at some point I was mad at Neni because some of the actions they had to undertake because they were in a state of survive or die was quite unnerving. But then again, I also understand because they are trying to survive, they're trying to live out their dreams. I enjoyed the writing style. It wasn't too as in poetic, but there was a beauty to it that I immensely enjoyed. I did find the ending a bit underwhelming. I expected Neni to fight so much because she was out there trying to get her nursing certification, and the fact that she decided to just give up and go back to Cameroon without a fight was like, come on girl, come on, this is your dream. I enjoyed how Mbue explored dreams and what it means to actually achieve them, and the fact that sometimes you have to let some of these dreams go. I had an immense time with this book, honestly. Reality versus things on the ground, what you see on the TV versus what you get when you move to America. So it was a beautiful POV that I immensely enjoyed. The next book on this list is Taco Streams, an anthology of short stories by 9 Zimbabwean women who dish out various beautiful, diverse stories on what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a Zimbabwean. And the thing I'm coming to appreciate more about anthologies is that you will get to experience different themes in one book. You'll get to experience different diverse writing style in one book. You'll get to experience different point of views from different writers in one book. That has been, I'm a person who never used to love short stories, but the more I read, the more I love and appreciate them, and this just added to that value. I know for a fact that the book is heavy, so be wary of trigger warnings such as suicide, substance abuse, rape, oppression. It is heavy. This book is heavy in and of itself, and also the themes. But I loved there's something about African writers and words, if not most, some, that is just beautiful. They give life to intangible things that add so much vividness to the story. My dog wants to come in, so let's welcome him back. While some of the stories were heavy and sad and a bit depressive, some stories were stories of hope. Some stories were stories of, redemption, forgiveness, love. Some stories left me laughing, like The Office. Yes, there's a story called The Office in this book that I really, really loved. But overall, I had an amazing time with this book, and I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is reminiscent of Khalid Hussein. If you love his works, you will enjoy Once There Was a Star by Maisha Kyobi, a story written by a Kenyan about Somalia during the war. It was beautiful, it was immersive, it's heavy. Trigger warnings for FGM, rape, violence. Story is written in 1977, based on true facts, and it follows one man called Ismail who went to the Ogaden Desert during the war, and this changes him forever. He comes back home to his wife and daughter Halima, whose life revolves around these two awesome parents of hers. Again, there's a turmoil among the community due to colonization, and Halima goes through some harrowing things that happens during war. This story makes you realize that during war it's women and children who suffer the most. Yobi deeply explores the effects of colonization during that process, and after, he explores what segregation in communities leads to. He explores, war and its effect, and it was beautiful. It kind of reminds me of The Havoc of Choice, a story that also sets during turmoil after elections. It's just the same thing about this. Second war started after one faction of Somalia wanted a piece of the government, and the other also wanted a piece of the government. So you can see how through colonization we were segregated, and this turned on us. The book is based on true facts, and I appreciate authors who go in and put their all, because it took him about 2-3 years to produce this book, and I feel that this book should get more airtime. It was beautiful, it was immersive, the writing is lyrical, and in between the pages there are snippets of poems and music about Somalia. It was an amazing time. The next book in the list is also from Zimbabwe. It's a short story collection, but from one author, and that book is 3:15 AM and Other Stories by Rudo Manyeri. The stories are told from different points of view, first person narration, multiple POVs that she really well executed and added so much vividity and flesh to the stories. Every question mark, every full stop, every word is economized to give us a meaning that is deep and profound. Again, writing style is beautiful. I love how she explored immigration, colonization, war, love, loss, betrayal, family. It was immersive, and again, another book that made me realize that colonization had a deep clutch on us, and we're still untangling from it. We're still seeing the after effects, and I realized that each country, if not most, from Africa, had some bit of internal war between clans, which shouldn't be the case, But that thing about segregating communities so that we cannot unite and overpower this ruling that wants to colonize us. It was just like a aha moment. She also explores love. The story was called, I believe it's Chipo. Beautiful, sweet romantic story that, gave me hope that as Africans we don't always have to stories that are heavy. Sometimes you just need to explore something fun, something funny, something sweet. And she is in the process of writing a sweet, soft story, and I can't wait, given that I loved and enjoyed this book. So yes, another awesome read from Zimbabwe. The next book is from Nigeria. It's a middle grade fantasy. It's called Onika, an Academy of the Sun. This book has a mix of fantasy, some bit of dystopian, and some sci-fi in it. It's built on modern day technology. It's just that a bit advanced. And we follow Onika. Onika has been having trouble with her hair. It makes her stand out. It makes her feel weird. Then something just happens that makes her realize that this hair, this thing that has made me stand out among other people, is her superpower. And we follow her as she comes into terms with this new revolution. Lo and behold, someone close to her knew that there was a chance that this new occurrence would happen. So she ships her off to an academy. It reminds me somehow of Harry Potter. I love that setting where we are taken through what this student is going through, and novice, and they're taught spells, they're taught about their powers, how to operate them. And I love that about it. Also, our author explores colonization, a theme that runs through most of our books. She explores identity, culture, friendship, and I immensely love the diverse characters, as they added a bit of diversity to the book. And you get to see why some of the villains in the book act the way they do. It was fun, it was immersive, it was fast-paced. So yeah, it has a place in my heart. The next book on the list is a play, and that book is A Different Lens, a book written by Richard Hairbed. If I'm butchering the name, please forgive me. So the story follows Samuel Konsum, native of Ghana, West Africa, who has been residing in the United States for the past 15 years, search for greener pastures. He brought his children from Ghana to live with him in the United States and had great expectation of them, but things didn't go as planned. His eldest son Kwame is coming to terms with his own choices. Meanwhile, his daughter Abigail falls to her passions. And finally, his son Thomas, a senior in high school, is misguided, which Samuel desperately tries to get him to see. As the story unfolds, different perspectives are told, including from Samuel's wife, Joyce, who also has a 9-year-old son with Samuel called Godfrey. This story read so fast, given that it's a play, but then again, it was impactful, as our author tries to remind us of where we come from. With our different points of view, we get to have a deeper understanding of what the author is trying to say. He speaks of the effects of immigration, he speaks of culture. He's also trying to remind people who have migrated to, if it's the West, according to this book, or it's the East, remind us of where we come from, and for us not to forget that. We also need to remember that our parents struggled for us to be where we are, for a better life for ourselves, so we shouldn't take that for granted. And also the fact that as much as you have veered off from your goal initially, you can always come back. There's a chance of redemption. There's that hope that you can still achieve what you wanted to achieve. So for me, this was an awesome take-home book. On this list is a favorite among many, and that book is Ongoing by Yagyasi. I will start by telling you it was the first paragraph of this book that made me realize that I'm gonna love this book immensely. The writing style is beautiful, lyrical. It had me hooked. Trigger warnings for slavery, oppression, violence, rape. And this story follows two women, Efia and Essie, who have different destinies. One becomes a slave, the other becomes a wife to a slave. You can see that the consequences of their fate reverberate through the generations that follow. The story is told from the Golden Coast of Africa to Mississippi, and then we come back to Ghana again, and then we go back again to Harlem. Also fascinated to see how Yasi delivers this story from different points of view along a generation, and you can see that as the character changes, also the nation changes, and she explores, effects of, again, another theme that's done through her books, effects of colonization and slavery. You can see this character coming to birth from person who felt so inferior to person who takes charge of their power. I love that about the book. And wow, it wasn't until the second last chapter that I actually broke down. This book is heavy. So the way I survived through all those chapters and all these characters went through is really impressive. And then the second last chapter is the one that broke me. I was like, what juju is that? But overall, I loved and appreciated this book so much because it gave me a deeper glimpse of this thing called slavery that our people underwent. The next book really took me by a surprise. I didn't expect to love it the way I did. And there's this quote she wrote in the book that one person cannot move an elephant, but an entire village is another story. And that book is Under the Udala Trees by Chinelo Okapranta. This book was beautiful. And the writing style is beautiful. Again, something about Africans and their writing style that adds so much magic to the words, gives things, intangible things, life that makes the story vivid. This book follows Ijeoma, and it's a coming of age story as she comes into terms about who she is, about where she comes from and where she's going. The nation also does the same. When she is 11, a civil war breaks out in the young Nigeria, and she's sent away to safety where she meets another displaced child and they fall in love. They are from different ethnic communities, they are both girls, and they're also from different religions. When their love is discovered, Ijeoma learns that she will have to hide this part of herself, but there is a cost to living inside a lie. And during the whole book, we get to see how Ijeoma struggles with this aspect of herself that is not readily accepted in the community. And from her family itself, we get to see how religion is used against this part of her in a way that is just dehumanizing. We get to see how she struggles and finally comes to accept this part of her. There was a chapter that broke me, and I applaud the author for standing up and talking about this issue because it is banned in their country. And given that June is Pride Month, this is a book that explores LGBTQ in a deeper and a heavy and raw way. If you haven't heard about this, you might want to add this to your reading list for June, but be aware of the trigger warnings. But overall, I had a beautiful time with this list. Is Yinka, Where's Your Husband? A story that follows Yinka, a British Nigerian living in London. When her cousin Rachel gets engaged, Yinka embarks on an operation called Operation Find a Husband for Yinka. And it turns out to be a very funny but enlightening journey, because in the process we get to see the struggles that Yinka has had as a black woman living in a white society. She struggles with the way she looks, with her skin, with her hair, with how she is as a Nigerian. We get to see her explore or try to find ways to find a husband that were just fishy and not working. But in the process, she realizes that she is beautiful as a person, that her kinky hair, her sun-kissed skin is beautiful. And that was the highlight of this book, because she might not have ended up finding a husband per se, but she ended up finding herself. She ended up loving herself deeper, and to me, that is a mark of success, as a person, that development from a place of doubts and hate to a place of love and healing. I love the fact that the author explored friendship, she explored family, she explored the effects of immigration, she also touched on love and healing and forgiveness. And to me, as some of the things the character went to was relatable, it made an impact to me as a reader. The next book I read in high school, I don't remember much about it. The only thing that I vividly remember is that I had to read a scene out aloud in class that was very sexual. And that kind of, it's not exactly scared me, but the fact that I was reading it aloud, and from that I remember that I did enjoy this book. So when I saw a friend of mine reading it, I was like, wow, I remember this book. And it was like, I'm gonna gift it to you. And that book is Mind Boy. The book tells a story of Zuma, a countryman in a large South African industrial city, and the impact on him of the new ways and new values. The author writes of Zuma as a man in transition. He uses him as an instrument to describe the lives and ways of people who live in the backwaters of the city. Because Zuma is new to it, he can see the hard, disturbing, and a privileged way of life with freshness. So I would love to read this book this year. So it is one of my anticipated reads from Africa. Yes, I know most people anticipated reads are books that are being newly released, but for me, that's not the case. Next book is also an anticipated read, and it's from Zimbabwe, and that book is Painting a Mirage. This is the first book in a trilogy. It follows Ruva, who is raised in a privileged, dysfunctional Zimbabwean family and returns to live in the UK at the age of 18. Ruva yearns to escape a toxic childhood, but relocation to the UK invokes a bitter confrontation with an illusionary upbringing, and she realizes that she does not need to continue conforming to the dictates of her past. As Ruva navigates life in the UK as a first-generation immigrant, she begins to understand what it means to be a black minority living in a meritocracy. During her journey of learning to live independently, Ruva stumbles into marriage. Will the grass that seemed greener live up to her expectations? This is one of the books that I'll be reading in June, and I can't wait to dive in. Again, I know what is awaiting me, some bit of heaviness. That's just fact about our African books. Next book, also another anticipated read. It is set during the post-election violence, something that really happened in Kenya. And we follow Lily, who seeks fortune in the city. When the country is thrown into the post-election violence frenzy and terror reigns, normal days quickly turn into fear-filled nights. The hand of fate sneaks into the confusion and knocks on Lily's door, bringing with it wounds and indelible scars that she has to learn to live with for the rest of her life. Etched in her memory, Lily maneuvers through life riddled with shame and a sense of helplessness. In an attempt to make something out of her life and inconsiderate of everyone she knocks down along the way, she gets sucked into the glitzy life of Nairobi, where money is the language. And as if fate has something against her, her life upends as she plunges deeper into a cancerous river that slowly gnaws away her body and soul. She is shrouded in anger, guilt, and regret. All along, she realizes one can only run for so long from one's past. Again, since I loved Once There Was a Star and The Harp of Choice, I have a bit of expectation about this book, so I hope I will enjoy it. So far so good. These are the books that I've talked about in this video. These are not the only books that I've read from Africa. These are not the only books from Africa that I've loved. I believe most of them I've talked about in other previous videos, and I thought I would just pick other diverse books from my library that I've read that I loved. I thought we would do a bonus, and the first one is Crowns of Crowns by Clara Loveman. This is a YA fantasy book. The story is set in Genevad, a world with 6 continents, each with its own clan, each with its own power play to rule this kingdom. And we get to see how one function overthrows another, all because of greed, all because of power, all because, they want that throne, something that really is among our African leaders. And that's what I love about fantasy. You might think that it is set in a fantastical world and may not relate to us, but it deeply relates to us. Immensely enjoyed book 1, which is Crown of Crowns, more than book 2. It's a duology. It's a duology, by the way. And yes, another one that you might want to check out. I hope you're reading books that will give you more pleasure to take off the pressure of life. And until our next video, our next video. Bye.